Let's talk about you're jumping back into commentary. We mentioned as we put a button on 1994 that when you came back in, it wouldn't be as an announcer,
Mhm.
but very quickly you're going to replace Vince as the lead announcer on Action Zone alongside Todd Pettingill. How does that come about? Is this just a function of Vince not wanting to go into the studio on a Sunday morning to do live voiceovers on a tape show, and he says, "Hey Jim, you go do it"?
I think he thought it was beneath him.
Okay.
Uh, I think because he is so high profile, the voice of all the pay-per-views, the voice of the number one syndicated show that had the biggest exposure globally, and then going from that to Action Zone, it not only did it not sound right, it didn't fit. It didn't feel good. I liked it because it gave me something to do and something I loved doing. And Todd was easy to work with. He knew that he had enough information, product knowledge to get by. But he was just, you know, he was easy to work with. He wasn't combative or trying to be funny all the time. But he had a great sense of humor. And well, look at that tie I'm wearing. Jesus Christ, what was my little wife thinking? And then of course Vince is gone. He's changed over from the mock turtleneck thing, and very prominently putting his wedding ring out there so everybody could see it. But that was how it worked, and there were a lot of moving parts, Connie. A lot of things changed. A lot of things changed overnight. A lot of things changed in a 2 or 3 week time, or a little bit longer. Uh, Vince stayed on Superstars, but I think his work schedule just got the better of him as far as being able to come to the studio once a week, every week, and do two. No, make two. We did two, so it wasn't every week. It was every other week. So the talent and crew let us be in there because when Vince did the voiceovers for Superstars, he did the same thing. He took the calls. They're easier to access. Uh, he'd work with his partner. Usually Savage. I remember Savage being there a lot, which I was glad I wasn't. Uh, and you know, they fed off each other's drive and their lack of a better term, an ego. But it was just a tough day. Even back to the food. Monsoon and I were doing challenge, so we would talk to the producer who took care of that, and we'll say, "Well, just get the same thing as last week," because what it was it wasn't a dietitian's menu. I mean, Monsoon would have his pastrami with mayonnaise. He loved mayonnaise, and he'd get pastrami sandwich with mayo. But they had nice salads, and it was a different culture than I was used to in Oklahoma or even Atlanta. So we had fun in that regard. And if we got hungry in the middle of the afternoon, we stopped recording and come to a break spot and go eat again. So it was good. It's good stuff. It's great fellowship with that challenge crew.
Jim, I got to ask, what was Todd Pettengill's food order? What did he like for lunch?
Oh golly, he was pretty basic.
I'm just kidding, Jim. How was Todd Pettingill to work with? I mean, he's a name from bygone era, but a
Yeah,
big part of the WWF in this era. I've heard he had heat from some of the other people because his radio career had done so well. What was your experience working with Todd like?
I didn't think he had an ego, but he was really good at what he did. He was a big time star with Scott Shannon in New York City, and they were in Morning Drive. So their audience was huge, and his name identity, his recognition factor was obviously very significant. But I didn't have any issues with him. You'd think, well, when you get a new guy and he's going to have to work with the wrestling guy, yours truly, uh, and this may not go as smoothly as we all would like it to be, but we can damn sure get an hour show. And so I kind of had that off the record thought in my head. We could at least do an hour show, and we succeeded in that. But those issues never really came up. Uh, we laughed, we told jokes, we had a I think both of us have a decent sense of humor. He was very prompt because he'd get off the air and come straight to Stanford. And that was like a hour drive, if that. So it worked out fine, Connie. It's just he was not from he got a degree from a different college than I, and so we meshed. We understood each other's strengths and weaknesses, and I taught him a lot about wrestling because we'd go through storylines and no, you don't want to use that adjective or whatever. It worked out. It just goes to show you, if you are willing to communicate and you have the product knowledge that you should have, everything will work out fine. And for God's sakes, it's an hour. Come on.
Let's talk a little bit about the way the shows were produced back then. The pre-taped WWF shows on USA Network often had live commentary done at the studio in Stamford to make the shows feel more current.
Right.
And they're even trying to shoehorn in references from that day's news just to prove, hey, we are live. So this is a Vince call, I assume, or do you think USA wanted it this way?
Vince did it. Vince did everything, Conrad. Nothing that aired on television aired without Vince's approval. It in content and style, the whole deal. So, because I'm sure it cost the company some money to do that thing live.
Was it harder to you? I mean, you had been there live when matches. You've done commentary live when it's happening, but now when you're doing live commentary on a tape show, that has to be an adjustment for you at this point, right?
It isn't if I haven't seen the tape.
Okay.
If I haven't seen the tape, I protect myself by being more spontaneous and more reactionary, if that's a word. So that's. But if I previewed it, and I got the thought in my head how I was going to describe that moment or that incident, then it didn't come off as good. I didn't think. A lot of people wouldn't even have known that because I probably sounded the same. My voice didn't change. It's just my timing, my dialogue, and my tenor, my texture. That's why I've gotten a lot of accolades over the years, which I'm thankful for being so, out there sometimes. More enthusiasm, more that, so it worked out. You got to listen, man. You got to listen, and you got to. You think Vince ever previewed those shows? Shit, no. He's at the gorilla position on there being taped, but he was being bothered and conversed with, and cell phones. The cell phone was an enemy for the guys in creative. Bruce might not agree. I don't know. Pat, God bless him. But the cell phones was a huge interruption because people that thought they needed to talk to Vince knew that they could via cell phone, no matter if he was in Des Moines or Oklahoma City.
Let's talk a little bit about just the name JR. I know that we've talked about this and we touched on it before, that in your first year of employment with Vince, wearing a cowboy hat and calling yourself JR was not something you were too enthused to do, but it does feel like you're going to soften your stance on that a little bit. What led to that? How did he warm you up to that idea, or did he just sort of wear you down and you're like, okay, I'll try it?
Well, it's a little bit of the both, and I'm not going to be evasive, but he told me, his vision for me, and which is featured attire. I looked at it like, do you remember the old Porter Wagner television shows?
I do, yes.
He wore those very loud jackets with wagon train images and horses and all that shit. And that was never me. I was never a cowboy, even though I grew up in Oklahoma. The old man had, 6 or 8 pair of boots. I think I had 1 pair of boots as a kid growing up until I outgrew them, and I get 1 more pair. And that was just to be in style for the annual rodeo that came to Westfield, Oklahoma, in the last weekend in July. So I just was not it wasn't me. And I told him that. I said, I'll do the best I can with whatever you want me to do. However you book me, I'll be there and I'll perform. I'm just telling you that that's not my natural feel. I'm not comfortable with it. I'll do it, and I'll do it good, but it's not the direction I would go with JR. And he saw it my way. And over the years, so the only identification of JR was my black hat, Connie.
SaveWithConrad.com.
My name is Sergio. I'm from Lancaster in California. The motivation behind just following through with this refinance was I have a baby on the way. So just wanted to get everything in order. In the past couple of years, just afraid to pull the trigger, but then it just seemed like the right time to do it. I went to multiple banks, not only the mortgage I had, but then I went to you, and then I also went to several others. And it just seemed like your team, they were just completely honest and outright. Also, all the information was just laid out for me right there and then, answering all my questions in a timely, efficient manner. Diane was just so helpful and above and beyond accessible with both texting and emails and just any information that they needed. She would explain to me what exactly they wanted me to send, and then if there were any issues, she was able to just resolve them pretty quickly, versus other companies that sometimes it would take a couple of days to get some information. We were looking to pay down some debt, also looking into making some improvements to the home, also build up our backyard, do everything, especially for our daughter coming. By doing this cash out, it's a good amount that we're saving, between $1,000 and $1,500 a month, I would say. It helped out tremendously as well. My name's Sergio. I'm from Lancaster, California, and I saved over $1,500 a month with SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 2129, Equal Housing Lender. SaveWithConrad.com.